Hi, guys. This is Laura with Stuff I Find Interesting. This is the 50th episode. I said I was going to do something special, and I'm going to do something special. You ready? All right, that's all I got. So, 50th episode. If you've made it this far watching me, thanks. Such a surprise that people actually find this interesting, other than me. I just kind of like to hear myself talk. This is kind of what my week was like. So there were some knocks in the head. Wait, we're going to go back. You see that? He got knocked in the head. There were some knocks in the head, but ultimately I made my goal. So that is the metaphor. That is the meme metaphor for this week. I often tell my therapists in my life that I wish I could show them memes to explain how I feel rather than, how do you feel, Laura? Because sometimes I don't know the answer. I have no idea what I'm feeling. But I could show a meme. I'd be like, I understand the meme. So such a strange world we live in. I have a bunch of photos before we get into the good stuff. We're going to kind of take a trip around the world, and we're going to start out with Turpin. Turpin, you remember, we did a whole episode on it. It's in the desert, China, near like Xinjiang. It's where the Uyghurs would have lived. This is a very ancient mosque, which is heavily eroded. Here we have a sphinx. This particular sphinx is in Chile. I had insomnia 2 nights ago. Every single link here is from that insomnia rant. And this is from South America, because I was looking. I ended up in Peru, but I sort of traveled around a little bit. I was looking at the ruins. So this is probably just a rock that is shaped due to geological environmental forces to look like this, but it does look like a sphinx. And there are many rocks around the world that look this way. Conspiracy theorists say it's a sphinx, and that there are many sphinxes, and that they're all connected, and then they meet in Shambhala or Xanadu or Mount Kailash. That's where they meet, under Mount Kailash. I got to get my conspiracies straight. These are lime kilns from Russia, an abandoned marble factory. Lime kilns for the purpose of making quick lime, for the purposes of making metal. This is Morocco, from the, what do you call that? The Silk Road. If you're on the Silk Road and you're traveling and you saw this, you'd be like, wine, women, song, I am in. You would be very excited, because this is lots of civilization going on after traveling days and days and days through the desert with very little of anything, really. This is in Peru. As I said earlier, I went on a Peru kind of jaunt, which I'll come back to. This is in Peru. I was surprised when I first saw the picture. I thought it might have been like Eastern Europe, but it is not. The Dogon of Mali, some pictures I was confronted with this week that I thought were intriguing. So you think about our houses and what our houses look like, and the types of things that we have in our environment to create our own houses. Like, so for here in upstate New York, it's like bricks. Like everything is made out of bricks, wood, natural stone. Here we have what looks to be some sort of cement, probably made from sand and other things that are around. A thing I thought was interesting as I was looking at these different houses was the egg of the world, and it reminds me of the first 7 vibrations of the egg of the world. Now, what does that remind you of? Right? You remember? We talked about that. The what was it? The Cosmorph spiral? Why is my alarm going off? It says good morning. Well, good morning to you too, computer. I appreciate it. No, that's not it. What was that thing called? The Koizerev. Koizerev mirrors. Is that it? Did I get it? Oh, damn, I'm good. It's a pseudoscientific device made from long sheets of aluminum curled into a cylindrical spiral. It is alleged to focus on different types of radiation, including that coming from biological objects when those objects are placed in front of it. So if we go and we look at a Koizerev mirror, we see it has a little spiral, much like the first egg of the world. Keeping things moving, this is in Dashtok, Iran, and I was surprised coming across this picture to see Iran. We think of Iran as deserts and dry, and this is actually very narrow-minded, because there are lots of beautiful places, and pretty much every country, I think, in the world has a beautiful place somewhere. I would challenge you, well, Antarctica, I mean, there's the beauty to the place in the fact that it's so wide and whatever, but I don't think there's any, I don't know, I would find that terrifying. This is Iran. And it's not quite what you would expect, I don't think. These are wonderful pictures. This is from somebody's blog. All of these things will be in the links. You can check them out. Someone went and traveled. There are farms, orchards. The way of life is much simpler, much removed from sort of mainland Iran and the struggles that are going on. It's almost sort of an idyllic life. And these would be considered, some of them are considered nomads. They just travel with their herd from place to place. It's easy to romanticize the nomadic lifestyle. In reality, the whole scene was dusty, gritty, even a little dirty. What the fuck was that? It was noisy and rough and entirely unaffected by the demands of modern tourists who may prefer a nomad souvenir shop and dress like a nomad photo opportunities. We need those opportunities at some places, but occasionally it feels good to see something with just a little more soul. Certainly, if you want a slice of real Iran, you should head to Dashtak, meet the real nomadic people. There might be a bus, I'm not sure. Dashtak isn't too far from another town. You can probably get to that one by bus, I guess. And if you make it to Dashtak, keep in mind there isn't any accommodation. Without a village elder to guide you around, it may be tricky to find the secrets. The nomads might not be around when you arrive because, well, they're nomadic. This is I'm going to share with you some neat things that I found. These are like sites that have lots of information, cool information you can kind of poke around. I like to find things that you could spend a couple hours sort of going through. This is virtual Atacama, the Atacama Desert. So the idea is to show the desert of the Atacama region with all of its contrast, high hills versus endless plains, fertile valleys versus sandy areas without traces of life, dimensionless landscapes versus straight lines to the horizon. So we think of the Atacama Desert as just being desert, like just one word, desert, and there's one image in our brain, unless we're from the desert. And then we realize that the desert is much more nuanced and complicated than at first glance. In fact, when I moved out to the desert when I was much younger than I am now, it was a shock to my system to go from trees and lots of grass to like nothing. And there would be a mountain in the horizon and you drive for like 5 fucking hours and the mountain would be the same damn size. And you'd say, what's up with that? The mountain's the same damn size. And it's because the horizon seems endless. Anyway, getting back to the Atacama Desert. If we go to Salt Flats, okay, let's go to the Andes Mountain Range. Let's look at a picture. Okay, that's the Atacama at the Andes Mountain Range. Let's look at a salt flat. What do you mean it can't be reached? There we go. Salt Flats. Salar de Pedernales. Salt of the something. Where the desert is really desert. That's definitely really desert for sure. Roads to Infinity, Sunset. Something different. That's pretty. Cities and towns, El Salvador. That site can't be reached. Okay, fine. That's kind of interesting. So I guess this would sort of be the edge of the Atacama. Because there's people. They look like there's permanent structures there. And this is on the coast. Humanity's history and ancient civilizations. Somebody took a lot of time to put this together. Look at all this stuff. Let's find something we can poke around in. Messages from Andean and American civilizations. Mohenjo-Daro. Piri Reis. Adam and Eve story. CIA classified document. The 3D slave race and hijacking of human consciousness. That sounds good. The ancient cosmic wars recapitulated. So there's a gentleman, Dr. Joseph Farrell, who has correlated the ancient scriptures, particularly those in India, with what he believes is a war, a cosmic war that took place 65 million years ago and 3.2 million years ago. So there were two different cosmic wars. Now, if you believe in the Mayan calendar, there are different cycles of man. I forget what cycle we're in, but the idea is that the world has been destroyed and remade multiple times over. and that humanity has risen and fallen in population and intelligence, I would imagine. Ancient history is preserved in stones and bones. There's some evidence here that's described that backs up these theories. And it really goes into it. This is quite the fascinating read. I'm not going to sit here and read all of it, mostly because I'm having problems with my computer and I don't want it shut down in the middle of doing this, because I've already done it like once or twice and then it's shut down on me. So we're gonna talk really fast. So you guys are lucky that my computer's giving you problems. This talks about all the evidence that supports the fact that, or the supposed fact, that humanity has risen and fallen. Travelers' views, places, monuments, and people, the 15th to the 20th century. So you say, hey, what was going on over here? Let's see. Ankara. Let's look at Ankara. Nothing there. Let's go here. So we can click on it, and we are taken to a place where there's lots of maps that we can look at. So if we look at 1574, Comacchio, map of the southeastern Mediterranean. We can enlarge it, and we can see the Mediterranean as it was represented in the 15th century. It is thought that the Mediterranean, that the sea level was much lower, and therefore there were a lot more land bridges. So all these little islands that you see were potentially at one point actually connected and not separate. This is another place. This is one of my favorite places that I like to go. I've brought this gentleman up before because I think he's amazing. And this is Hummus. Hummus posts every single day. If I translate this from Russian, sometimes it does it, and sometimes it doesn't do it. Today, it's not doing it. I don't know why that is. Somebody could probably explain to me why sometimes when I click on it, it translates, and sometimes it doesn't even give me the option. I'm not sure what the difference is, but this is science, aeronautics, all kinds of fun stuff. If we click on here, am I not getting anywhere? I'm not getting anywhere. What's going on, Hummus? Why can't I click on any of your stuff all of a sudden? I was just there. Okay. Well, this is embarrassing. No, it's not. Okay, maybe a little bit. No, there's nothing there. Hummus, what's going on, Hummus? Let's go to his main page. Let's see if he's active. Let's see if he's got stuff going on. He does. Just that particular area is just wonky for some reason. It could be because this is in a country that has a different type of internet altogether than we do. This is Yeisk, which I've never heard of. This is probably in the eastern part of Russia now. It's translating. Yeisk. We'll look up where Yeisk is in a minute. It looks like a pretty bustling little place. We've got industry, we've got cities, churches, what looks like a university or a museum. Let's look up Yeisk. It's probably Yeisk, actually. Is it? No, it's probably Yeisk. Yeisk. Yeisk is a port and resort town in Krasnodar Krai, Russia, on the Sea of Azov. It's located on the Yeisk Spit, which separates the Yaya River from the Sea of Azov. A spit is like a piece of land that sticks out. Like so. Let's look at some of the images, see what we got. Moving on. Okay, Hummus, we'll come back to you another time. This is a tower in Wadi Dwar. And now we're going to go into some sobering territory. We're going to be sad and thoughtful for a minute. So I just showed you this picture. Well, just this past week, this whole area was bombed and destroyed. Some of the structures that are there. I do not know if this particular structure was destroyed, but it is in that same area, so it's possible that it could have been. Residential Indian boarding schools in the United States. This one in Montana was run by the Catholic Church. My dad attended the school decades later. He joked that serving in the military was a piece of cake compared to this school. You know, it's true. If you have a shitty childhood and you join the military could seem like totally easy. At least that's the way it was for me. People yelling at me, I didn't care. You can yell at me all day long. I don't care. Go ahead, yell at me. You can't hit me. They couldn't hit you when I went in. In 1991, I joined the Marines, and they could not hit you at that time. But I believe like less than 10 years earlier, they could totally smack you if you were mouthing off. In this particular picture, they could probably smack you, and much, much, much worse. And it says down here, there was I'm just going to leave this in the links, but there are some discussions of people that have had relatives that went to these schools, and it talks about the effect that it had on them, their culture meaning the Native American culture. So what happened is the well-meaning colonizers would pick up the Indians and give them Jesus, probably shave their heads, put them in clothes, American clothes, and punish them if they spoke their language. So they could only speak English, thus ripping them away from everything they had ever known and denying them the opportunity to just to freaking be, man. It's such a bummer. On a happy note, we're going to talk about chubby, bald, black guy. Who is chubby, bald, black guy, and why are we talking about him? Well, I like to hang out on Reddit, as you guys all know. And there's this guy, chubby, bald, black guy, who is a postmaster. And he takes pictures of all of the cats that he feeds on his route. And you can tell by the pictures that he loves the cats, and the cats love him. And the pictures are really, really, they're nice. They're better than nice. There's a talent there because you can see the cats' personalities, and that's not always easy to capture with a camera, especially with cats. But you can see, look at this guy. He's like, hey, where's my treats? So he posted this, not really meaning anything, and someone said, hey, I'd like to send some treats that you could give to the cats on your route, like something special. And he said, sure. And he put up an Amazon wish list. And this is what happened. These are all of the packages that this guy has gotten. And as the camera pans around, you'll see that the boxes keep going. So the beautiful news is that people came together just completely randomly because of love of animals and a pure soul. And a lot of these supplies now not only are going to go to the cats on the postal route, but they're also going to go to the local SPCA so that strays can have some clothes. So hi, chubby bald guy, you're a hero. We love you. A Champagne inspector wearing a special mask to protect against accidental discharges. I just love this picture. That's a great outfit. I would love to have that top. Like right now. Right now. Okay, we're heading into some fun stuff. But before we get fully entrenched in the fun stuff, I want you guys to watch this movie trailer. It is not American.
Sorry, Sue, I can't get the Wi-Fi. No.
After we watch an ad, of course, because that's the way it is. Okay. You don't need to know the language to enjoy this trailer, by the way. You'll see why I'm sharing it very shortly. You'll be like, wow. There he is. Dun, dun, dun. It's the special scroll map that leads to... Where does it lead to? I'm on the edge of my seat, guys. And she's saying, "Don't do it. It's dangerous. You could get hurt. I love you. I want you to come home." This is the local guide who knows the spot. Oh no. I think someone got killed at it. Now it starts going into very strange territory. We have what looks to be a mech suit. He gets lower down. This Diwali, which is New Year, I think. Ram Setu. Oh, there he is. Oh. Ram Setu. So there is a land bridge seemingly in the middle of the ocean. This gentleman, let's look at some of these photos if we can. These gentlemen are hanging out on this land bridge. Now, it's not completely contiguous, not at this time, but it is believed that at one point it was completely contiguous and formed a complete land bridge from one place to another. I will show you what places I mean. Not only that, but it's proof of a very ancient civilization that built this land bridge. Let me show you where it is. Let me show you where it is. Oh, this is not working. Okay, here we go. Ram Setu. I said I was going to talk fast. I'm losing my momentum. Let me go back to talking fast. Layers of Ram Setu. What area are we talking about? We are talking about the area between Sri Lanka and India. At the bottom right, the bottom east of India is this bridge. And there's a real bridge. But then we get here, and it's not really quite a bridge. But this bridge is considered precious to the Indian people. Or maybe it's the Sri Lankan people. I think it's the Sri Lankan people. The Sri Lankan people are saying, hey, let's build a canal through here, and then when we want to ship stuff, we don't have to go all the way around. We can just go through the little strait. We can get to where we need to go. And India's like, no way, we can't do that because this is a special sacred place. If we look at an old map, I believe this is from the 1600s, we could see it shows the area much as it is today, which is broken up. But I believe in this picture, it could just be this is how the artist of the map portrayed it, but it does look to be a little bit more developed. The sea has risen in our lifetime, so it is probably more buried than it was before. Ram Setu, everything to know. Only a few historical structures exist in different parts of the world that connect historical and mythological notions. Adams Bridge, known as Ram Setu, is one such building. The national government has authorized an underwater exploration to examine the structure and ascertain the age and formation of the Ram Setu. This investigation will also aid in determining whether the building dates back to the Ramayana era. Ram Setu is also being pushed to become a national monument, even though the case is still pending. With this, it becomes more intriguing to learn if there is a way to connect modern constructions with mythology from India. Between Pamban Island in Tamil Nadu, India, and Mannar Island in Sri Lanka, there's a series of naturally occurring mineral shoals known as the Ram Setu Bridge. According to Hindu mythology, the bridge is extremely important and featured in the Ramayana. Scientists have been interested in the structure because research is being done to establish the age of the Ram Setu Bridge. A future Indian film will be based on. We just watched that film, and the film is it real? Is it myth? Is it real? Is it myth? So it was once a land route. It was above sea level until 1480, when it was devastated by a hurricane that ravaged the region and made the channel deeper. Studies have revealed that the bridge is a linear chain of coral reefs built of limestone shoals. Additionally, there's evidence that it is constructed from floating boulders that have been located throughout Ramaswamy, and there are ideas to suggest that volcanic rocks do float. So that's why at the end of that thing he was carrying the floating rocks, which in the movie probably proves his theory. This article goes a little deeper with it. It's definitely traces of an advanced civilization, says this article. There's like no doubt. And skeptics say, it's not anything. But this guy is saying it's the holiest of places, and that it needs to be protected, and that it was told in the ancient epic poem Ramayana, and it was built by the god Hanuman and his army of ape men to allow Lord Rama to find his wife Sita, held in captivity by the demon king Ravana on the island. So this mythology goes very deep, as I always often say that in every myth there's a trace of truth. Do you believe in Ram Setu, Adam's bridge, epistemic plurality, and colonial legacy? This is a more academic article. If you feel like you want to get more into the actual science and history of it in a deeper way, this article will totally hook you up. Along with this is scientific explanation with proof, 1.7 million views. I do not know if this person comes from a point of conspiracy or if this person presents all the facts. But 1.7 million people watched it, so it can't be that bad. I'm not sure why I saved this. Restoration projects in Yemen. I think it's when I was looking at the other towers. Abandoned Frank Lloyd Wright, the tour of Shams Palace, Iran. This is a place that I learned about this week, and it intrigued me. This is a palace that was built in the 1960s. Shams Pahlavi, the oldest sister of the last Shah of Iran, needed a palace to call her own. The end result is simply magnificent. Not only one of Iran's most outstanding homes, Shams Palace is also an important architectural example for the world at large. However, in the little-known Iranian city called Karaj, Frank Lloyd Wright's figurative fingerprints are disappearing fast. So this is abandoned, but there are plans to turn it into a spot where people can pay money to go see. But you could see it's very opulent and very much over the top. This would have been the bedroom of the Iranian princess, seating area, this beautiful outdoor kind of domey area. Here are some more pictures. This is what it would have looked like. And it goes into the account of the Iranian royal family prior, during, and after the revolution of 1971. Interestingly, was it last week's episode or the week before where I talked about my adoptive mom who married the Iranian drummer? Well, the Iranian drummer was an Iranian drummer for the Shah, for the last Shah of Iran. That's what he did before he broke away and started the band called the Orient Express. So to me, this is especially interesting. My adoptive mom would have liked this a lot. She would have just totally gone on and on about that time in her life, which was fascinating, of course. At some point, I'll be that. I'll be talking about the times in my younger life. I'm already starting to do it. Look at this room. What a great room. Some of these details are just incredible. It's amazing that it hasn't been completely ravaged, but maybe the location has something to do with it. Here's another picture. Meisterdruk. This is a place I go sometimes when I want to just poke around and look at prints. I found this. This is supposed to be an architectural fantasy. But what if it isn't? What if these prints that we see today in libraries and other historical places, what if it's real? What if it really looked like that? Who knows, right? Did you know that in the Philippines, just outside the Philippines, in the South China Sea, the Philippines deliberately grounded a ship on a shoal to sort of broaden their claim into the South China Sea to keep the China from encroaching. So this is the ship in question, and it was grounded on the Second Thomas Shoal by the Philippines in the 1990s. A detachment of Marines is stationed on the rusting bulk. There are people that are stationed on this. Here's Second Thomas Shoal. You can see the bigger map. We have China, we have the Philippines. And it is the unlikely base for a detachment of Filipino Marines who stand guard over the atoll, scanning the turquoise waters for Chinese ships. It is 105 nautical miles away from the Philippines. So it's far. It's not very close at all. So they sit there with binoculars all day and they watch the Chinese. So we're coming closer and closer and closer in sort of this cat and mouse game. They have to fish for their food. The ship is falling apart. They have to watch where they step so that they don't fall through. And they do long tours there, and they're far away from families. Our life here is sometimes hard. We can't communicate with our families, and we're in the middle of the ocean. That's our everyday life here. We can't do anything. They get airdrops of supplies, but it only happens twice during a person's tour. I did not really get into how long a tour is, but I got to imagine it's got to be at least a year. All right. Oops. So, what's this talk of the South China Sea and China, and what is China doing specifically? China is doing this. They are doing construction on an area where it's more shallow. There has been speculation that Beijing may build an airstrip on the Johnson South Reef. United States is like, military facilities? And China's like, oh no, it's for workers and it'll extend our fishing and offshore oil exploration industries and extend both the country's range and time to work in the South China Sea. They did actually build several oil rigs last June in a bid to step up exploration of oil and gas in the potentially energy-rich waters. China is telling its neighbors that it intends to assert its so-called historic rights to maritime resources such as oil, gas, and fish within the 9-dash line, a line that the majority of international legal experts regard as being incompatible with the 1982 UN Convention on the Law of the Sea. Maritime law is incredibly complicated. Here's some more with an article from the Philippines' point of view. Did you know the United States is potentially about to get much larger? There are claims to an extended continental shelf territory to be asserted by the U.S. State Department to include an area within the Arctic Ocean and that is bigger than California. Come on, cat. Okay, there you go. She wants to sit on my lap. She's missing her boyfriend, which is my husband. The U.S. State Department this month announced results of a 2-decade program to map the extended continental shelf areas beyond the nation's 200-mile exclusive economic zone. Much of the focus was the Arctic Ocean, where the bathymetric and geological surveys by federal agencies produced the first detailed map of a complex seafloor with a series of canyons, ridges, and deep-sea plateaus. This is where it would be extended to. Not an insignificant area, this area right here. It's, if we were to rotate it, it's almost comparable with the size of Alaska up there. In all, the mapping reveals that the U.S. has rights to an additional 987,700 square kilometers, an area about twice the size of California. And it talks about why this is so. The continental shelf is the extension of a country's land territory under the sea. Like other countries, the United States has rights under international law to conserve and manage the resources and vital habitats on and under its ECS. This is now being submitted to whomever would approve or deny, can I make my country bigger? It's a very good article. This article comes from the Arctic Business Journal, which I found when I had insomnia 2 nights ago, and was bugging out over some of these articles. Gold exploration, diamonds, oil. It's a fascinating snapshot of the worldwide economy. The mother of all inventions was found in Slovenia, 5,000-year-old wheel. Where was this 5,000-year-old wheel found? It was found in the black soil of the Ljubljana marshes and the treasures underneath. This is Ukraine, I believe. Ukrainish area. Maybe not. Holding my finger up because sometimes that helps me think. Slovenia. Slovenia. It's located in Slovenia. But apparently this area holds many, many secrets. It's a strangely beautiful place rich in biodiversity, geology, prehistory, and history. And there's some gorgeous pictures discussing what has been discovered, and I thought it was kind of cool. It's not as exciting as I originally thought. I was like, oh, this is exciting. I'm going to include this. But you know, at 3 o'clock in the morning, sometimes everything can start to get exciting. I found out 2 days ago about the prehistoric pile dwellings around the Alps. Around the Alps, there was a marshy area, and there was a group of peoples that lived in these areas, and they built their houses up on stilts above the marsh to protect them from any predators or even other tribes. And you think of the Alps, you don't necessarily think of a Neolithic dwelling that would look particularly like this. This week I also learned about Tin City. Tin City. Why is Tin City interesting? Well, here's Tin City. And here's Russia. Tin City is one of the furthest most places, although it's abandoned now. It used to be a little mining town. And you could see, even from Google Earth, it's just, the site is just wasted. Like there's nothing really going on there. It even had its own airport, but now they're trying to bring it back by using the area for green energy, specifically wind. But if we sort of go over here, we have the Diomede Islands. Now this island, Little Diomede, is owned by the United States. This island, Big Diomede, is owned by Russia. And I think there's only not a whole lot of miles between them. Not that you would not want to, you wouldn't probably want to swim it. Things that aren't doing the thing. Preparing to do the thing isn't doing the thing. Scheduling time to do the thing isn't doing the thing. Making a to-do list for the thing isn't doing the thing. Telling people that you're going to do the thing isn't doing the thing. Messaging friends who may or may not be doing the thing isn't doing the thing. Writing a banger tweet about how you're going to do the thing isn't doing the thing. Hating on yourself for not doing the thing isn't doing the thing. Hating on other people who have done the thing isn't doing the thing. Hating on obstacles in the way of doing the thing is not doing the thing. Fantasizing about all the adoration you'll receive once you do the thing isn't doing the thing. Reading about how to do the thing isn't doing the thing. Reading about other people who did the thing isn't doing the thing. Reading this essay isn't doing the thing. The only thing that is doing the thing is doing the thing. Pretty cool, right? Spiritual bypassing as a defense mechanism. This is an article that I thought was interesting. I'm not going to put it forth. People have strong opinions about religion. This sort of goes into religion and spirituality, but I think that it talks about a phenomena that's happening in society, especially American society today, among the evangelicals, the ones that are really crazy. This discusses that phenomenon and how that happens. Spiritual bypassing. It's when you bypass the uncomfortable feeling of being human, or the feelings of dealing with other people, or dealing with your past, or dealing with the future. It's having radical acceptance that you are a mortal being. Spiritual bypassing is saying, oh, but there's God, so none of this matters. Or I don't have to be nice to people because I can pray and my sin will be forgiven. And it talks about the spiritual bypassing, that the people that do it will claim to be superior, but really this particular type of behavior comes from a place of fear. Congress House Committee receives classified UAP briefing. Let's pause to think about this for a minute. The Congress is currently talking about unidentified aerial phenomena. Like in Congress, they're talking about aliens, little green men, spaceships, whatever the heck's going on out there.
News, and of course News Nation has been all over it. First, journalist Jeremy Corbell released this
is the
video of the so-called
jellyfish
UFO,
the jellyfish UFO
base in Iraq. No, we don't know what this is either. Then today, for the first time in history, members of the House Oversight Committee received a classified briefing on UFOs. So was it just another useless meeting, or did it actually advance the crusade for transparency?
It didn't crusade. It didn't advance the crusade for transparency, just so you know. Why do people keep insisting that NHIs are interdimensional? So there's discussion. People that are in the know, the whistleblowers, keep saying they're not from other galaxies. They're interdimensional. The thinking is that what we see is just a very small part of what actually exists, and that these alien beings exist on other dimensions, which would also explain ghosts, demons, jinn, other phenomena that we can't explain. People that get like rescued at the last minute, like they're about to die, and suddenly something comes out and rescues them. Perhaps it's someone popping in from another dimension. Despite all the woo-woo nonsense you might hear on YouTube, we do not know that alternate realities exist. No, quantum mechanics does not say there are infinite dimensions running in parallel that can be passed through on a whim. If there were, then it would require some way to break out of the universe, a task so far that is far more complicated than just traveling from star to star. The part that's interesting is there's 296 comments, but the top comments are by people that seem to know what they're talking about. Interdimensional might sound more wooey to the ears than it actually is. It's guaranteed certainty that there exist phenomena in the universe beyond our ability to perceive, or indeed beyond our reach to perceive through technology. A great practical example is dark matter. We suspect this is real, but we have no way to perceive it, and currently cannot create a means to do so either. We can only observe its theorized existence and effects. An interdimensional being may be much the same, perhaps not so much an alternate reality thing as just beyond our ability to perceive. I think it's a bit like being blind in a room with something silent. It's there. It's just not going to interact with you in a way that you can detect. And the discussion goes on for quite some time, which is very, we already heard that song. It's a very good discussion. I enjoyed it. I saw this morning. This perfect little snowflake landed on this guy's dashboard. So this guy goes out, he's warming up his car, he's waiting, and this little snowflake comes in and goes poof, 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 and lands. And there it is. It's a beautiful thing, right? So we are going to finish off, we're at the end. We're going to finish off by listening to some music and looking at this catalog that I found this week that I thought was interesting. We're just going to poke through a few pictures. We're basically at the end. I might do a live session later. I'm not really sure. We'll see how the computer behaves. I hope everybody has a great week. I'll probably be back on Sunday now that I have extra time. Check that out. There it is. We have some sort of mythical dragon. I dig this. So I believe this is a catalog of all the holdings of the Antiquariat, which is probably an organization or actual place. I didn't actually get that deep into it. It's probably a library, probably in Europe. But you can see there's lots of cool stuff to poke through. Audubon. Did you know Audubon killed the birds that he painted? He would stalk them, then he would kill them, and then he would stuff them and pose them, and then he would paint them. So Audubon, it's funny that he's considered a great conservationist because he killed everything he painted. And now you know. All right, guys. I will see you soon. I hope you have enjoyed this episode of Stuff I Find Interesting.